Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine. It is February 13th. These are your headlines. We actually have some open water fishing to talk about this week with some nice brown trout coming off the Cape. But everywhere else, it's all about the ice. The pan fishing's been exceptional. We've seen a lot of interest in those sea forel and brown trout out in Connecticut. Stay tuned for all that and more on this week's New England Fishing Forecast.
The ultimate fishing authority in the Northeast, the Fisherman magazine.
Before we begin, we've got a few news items for you guys. The first one, I just want to remind you about the Saltwater Sportsman Seminar Series, which is coming to Mohegan Sun on February 22nd, so that's a week from this Saturday. And it's $65 to get in. You're going to get 5 hours of instruction from area pros, and a lot of those pros are some of the guys you see every week on this report. We've got Mike Roy, we've got Matt Stone, we have Max Finch, and we also have friend of the report, Dustin Stevens. In addition to them, there's several others. And $65 to get in there. You're going to get a free subscription to Saltwater Sportsman. You're going to get their comprehensive textbook, which is pretty cool. There's a couple other freebies that come along with it. And it's really a great day for anyone that loves to fish. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn a lot about different species. You're going to get expert tutelage from some of these excellent fishermen. So definitely want to check that out. If you want to learn more, go to nationalseminarseries.com and you can learn all you need to know there. Next thing, I just want to quickly mention that I will be at Surf Day down in Lincroft, New Jersey this Saturday. I'll be giving a seminar where I break down 5 of my favorite surf fishing spots. Should be a pretty cool one, at least I hope it will be. And I'll be hanging out at the Fisherman booth a little bit. I'll have some plugs with me at my own booth. So definitely come on by, say hello, and I'll look forward to seeing everybody there. Next thing, of course, is the giveaway, which is ongoing. We're going to give away one of the surf howdies I made in my February plug building article. And we're also going to give away a fillet knife and from Dexter. And not seeing a lot of photos right now, which, I guess that's not that surprising since it's freezing out and it's the middle of February. But this one's going to wrap up all the way in the end of May. I think it was May 28th that it's going to wrap up, but the last Wednesday in May. And, encompassing one of my favorite parts of the entire fishing season, where we transition from winter to striped bass. I mean, it doesn't get much more exciting than that. So get those photos in to me at danderson@thefisherman.com or text them to the number on the screen. And the only thing you have to remember is that it's got to be recently caught. It's got to show the angler holding the fish, and you have to give me the pertinent details, like where the fish was caught, who caught it, how big the fish was, stuff like that. Send them in to me. We'll get you in the magazine, we'll get you in the report, and you might even win.
No guessing, just catching. New Explore Series fish finders keep you locked on fish with unbeatable clarity, best-in-class imaging options, and a stunning ultra-bright HD screen. There's more to explore, only with Humminbird.
Moving over to the reports now, up in the North Country, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. Ice fishing has been exceptionally good. We're seeing a lot of nice largemouth bass. We're seeing a lot of trout. They've got 12 plus inches of ice pretty much everywhere up there, except for those giant lakes like Winnipesaukee, where you got to be careful out in the middle. Well, there's probably no ice out in the middle in a place like that. But the coves are safe on the big ponds, and all the smaller lakes and ponds are fully safe. They got snowmobiles out there, and things are going great. Drop it down over the border. We're going to check in now with Kevin Hoang from Surfland Bait and Tackle.
Hey guys, Kevin from Surfland Bait and Tackle checking in with the weekly report. Everything's still locked up. Ice fishing's been pretty good, pretty steady. I would definitely check the ice no matter what, just to be safe. I would always check ice no matter where you go, no matter how thick. It's always to be better safe than sorry. Live bait, it's been phenomenal with the traps. But then I would suggest, if anybody has any pike shiners, like the big shiners, I would throw a couple of those on some of the traps and try to target some of the big bass you got swimming around. And for bass fishing through the ice, one of my favorite lures, Castmaster, Jigging and Castmaster, Little Cleo, and then a Buoyant. Phenomenal jigs to use when you're ice fishing for bass. I like to use like a nice short setup with like 4-pound tests, and then you just gotta be careful when you get the bass, fighting the bass through the hole so the line doesn't break on the edge, But phenomenal, especially when you lift, jig, and then the fish takes it and it's like it's probably one of the best feelings through the ice on light tackle. Well, see you guys next time.
the famed waters of Panama awaits a fishing experience like no other. Tropic Star Lodge welcomes anglers to get in on world-famous fishing action. Plan your perfect trip today. Tropic Star Lodge, the ultimate in fishing adventures for more than 60 years.
Now we're going to drop down into Boston Harbor area. We're going to check in with Danny Parma from Fish Bucket Sport Fishing.
Thanks, Dave. Dan checking in with this week's report. This week, the Fish Bucket crew headed out of town, and we drove up to Lake Winnipesaukee, entered the Meredith Ice Fishing Derby. We jumped on our custom snow dog, headed a couple miles out, and set up camp. We had the jig rods all ready. We jigged up some Lakers all night Saturday, and till about 2:30, 3 o'clock on Sunday. We probably got 15 or so. It was a little bit slow. Just Lakers, all in the 19, 20, a couple of 22s, maybe a 24, but nothing too big. There was a 30 or a 32 that won the Derby. There was also some big cusk that were caught. There was some big crappie that were caught. It's a statewide tournament, so there's a lot of lakes. Some of them hold some really big fish. But yeah, it was a good time. Winter's here. I got my rod wrapper in the back, working on some custom builds for the upcoming season. If that's your thing, build some rods. If you're out there, visit your local tackle shop, pick up some rods, upgrade your reels, change your line, pick up some weights, pick up some plugs, because striper season's right around the corner. That's what I got for you guys. Stay safe. I'll catch you on the next one.
Heading inland to central Massachusetts, checked in with Jerry's Bait and Tackle out in Milford, and they said things have been great. Said pretty much everywhere guys go right now has safe ice. They've got 10 to 12 inches of ice pretty much all over central Mass. And the fishing's been good whether you want to chase bass or trout, pickerel or pike. Guys are finding those fish in various ponds. I know A1 has been good for the bass. I know Comet Pond has been putting out good numbers of trout. And I also know Farm Pond out in Framingham has been really good for pickerel. And from there, you can branch off to any of your favorite Central Mass ponds. You're going to find safe ice, and you're probably going to find a pretty good bite. Heading further west, let's check in now with Roy Leva.
Hey Dave, Roy Leva here from Western Mass with this week's report right off the ice. Fair to say that most places out here in Western Mass probably have about 10 inches of ice now, with some places having more, and some places with moving water and springs having less. But it's a safe bet to say that most places are safe now. If you plan to come out here, fishing's it's high and low. We've actually had a lot of low depression, so we've had a few storms come through here in the past week, dumping some snow. There's probably, I don't know, maybe 6 inches of snow on top of the ice now, with the little cap on top, making it a little bit difficult to walk. So bring your snowshoes if you plan to head out this way. I know there is more snow in the forecast, so we'll see. But it looks like winter's here to stay for a little while. So get out, be safe. Catch you guys next week. Peace.
Now we're going to jump all the way down into the sort of approaches to Cape Cod. And we've been kind of playing whack-a-mole with the safe ice out in that region, but things got really cold again this week and things have hardened back up. For the most part, they have 6 to 7, even 8 inches of ice across, Scituate, Plymouth, Rochester, Mattapoisett, Wareham, all those areas. With the exception of maybe some of the really big places like Long Pond or something like that. You're gonna have to be careful out in those areas, but all the farm ponds, all the coves, all the mid-sized lakes and ponds seem to have safe ice, and guys are doing very well with largemouth bass. Seeing some nice trout coming out of Little Pond, and Lots of big pickerel in the area as well. When you cross the canal, things get a little bit more complicated. So the closer you are to the canal, the better off your options are. You got a lot more safe ice in that area, kind of heading out almost to like Barnstable, and then things get a little bit dicey and then sort of fall off into open water. I did talk to the guys from the Goose this week, and they said there's been lots of open water opportunities again out, from Orleans in the sort of satellite towns of Orleans and heading out toward P-Town. Some big brown trout coming out of some of the Nickerson ponds, and the yellow perch bite for the shore guys has been really good with some really nice fish. Through the ice, when you're kind of back up toward the toward the canal, the fish has been good. I've heard of some pretty nice fish this week caught through the ice on the Cape. There was a 5-pound pickerel, there was a 2-pound perch, and lots of white perch and some decent-sized largemouth bass, although I didn't hear of any monsters this week. The only saltwater fishing I've heard of is one guy that got a few holdover striped bass from a tidal creek. No news on exactly where that was. Caught on a fly rod, and a pretty cool achievement for February. And that's what I have for you guys in Massachusetts this week. Crossing over into Rhode Island, we'll start things off with an East Bay report from TJ Kopecki.
Thanks, Dave. Hey guys, quick report for you. Obviously you can see I'm back from Florida, boohoo. And we had a great outing, great fishing in Florida. Just nice to get in the warm weather for a change. Just to come back to this cold and snowy weather that's going on. But listen, there is some sketchy ice around, and you got to be careful. I'm hearing reports of guys that are going through the ice, especially on the edges near the weeds. I think I heard a report of somebody in Connecticut that went through on an ATV or something like that. Some of this ice it's not safe. But before the ice really started to not be safe, the reports were good. My friend Matt had finally checked in with me, and he was on Willet Pond, and then he said that the ice was getting a little sketchy around the edges on the old Schroeder side. So we got in from the right from the road there. Actually, it's Willett Ave, and then you just step down off the concrete there. So he did well with trout in there. He did well with some panfish, lots of sunfish, he said, and a lot of them were done on just spinners jigging through the ice. He's also fished on Echo Lake. He tried to get out there a couple of times. He said the ice was too soft. And there's a big spot in the middle that is not frozen, which is another sign right there. It tells me don't go out there because it's not going to be safe. Moving into some of the south coast Massachusetts, one of these other bets that might be good, and I think there might be a lot of ice still out there, is South Watupa Pond. Give that a shot. I did see some guys out in that ice for a couple times driving to work in the morning, and looks like they had a lot of tippets going, and it might be worth a shot. The ice might be there. It's a bigger body of water, so just other ideas. North Copacut is another idea for South Coast Mass to get out there. Lots of options, but definitely be careful on the ice. And that's all we got for this week, other than the ice fishing, which has been pretty good. And it's mainly panfish, perch, trout that's been stocked. Melville's good. John Migliori has been telling me all week how good the trout fishing's been. And kudos to him. He's out there every day. But for that, from the East Bay, we'll check in with you guys next week. Tight lines, guys.
Throughout pretty much all of Rhode Island, it's been all about ice fishing as well. This is sort of a novelty for Ocean State fishermen. We don't get ice in Rhode Island every year. We certainly don't get safe ice every year. Closer to the coast, I would call the ponds iffy at best. You're seeing a lot of wet spots out there, you know what I mean? And that's not something you want to be walking on. What's worse is we have snow on the ice, so, you know, where you can see those wet spots, you can't really see how close you can safely get to them because the snow is obscuring your ability to look at the ice. So you really want to stay off the ice on any of the coastal ponds. You want to head, you know, 8 to 10 miles inland. And in those areas, it seems to be pretty much reliably safe ice. And we're just seeing so many guys enjoying it. I think because we don't get ice in Rhode Island that often, there's a lot of fishermen who are doing it for the first time and, you know, mostly using the jig and rod, having a great time. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that these guys don't usually ice fish, so they almost don't even care what they catch. So they're psyched to catch a little white perch, they're psyched to catch a little sunfish, and if they get a big largemouth bass or something like that, then all the better. But we have seen some, you know, some hardcore serious guys too, getting some nice largemouth bass, getting some really nice crappie and white perch as well. So by and large, the ice fishing in Rhode Island has been really, really good. And for a little bit more on that, let's check in now with Jeff Sullivan.
What's up, Dave? What's up, everybody? Back with a weekly video. Yeah, so I just woke up. It's really, really early. I've been getting up super, super early to get on the crappie bites lately. I think it's day number 22 in a row I've been on ice. So to be on ice this late in the season, Dave, in Rhode Island, it's weird. I'll tell you that. We haven't had ice like this in a while, but it's great because the panfish bite's on fire. The crappie bite's been really good. I've been jigging them through the ice. I've been using a Rapala ultralight rip and wrap. These things are absolute fish catching machines. I love these things. This catches anything that swims, really. It's got a low knock. It really calls those fish into your hole. I mean, they come up and crush it. I mean, I've been fishing over the top of grass beds, and the crappie been coming over the top, coming from underneath, and then grabbing them from the top. But it's been a stellar ice season so far, Dave. I think I have one more trip left in me, and then yeah, we're getting ready for open water because, Dave, you and I both know once that ice disappears off these ponds and lakes, it's go time. It's largemouth time, and I cannot wait. I'm chomping at the bit. But for now, it's ice fishing. I'll do one more trip, see how it goes. I mean, we've been having front and pros front weather. It's been really good, Dave, I have to say. If you guys been ice fishing or thinking about going ice fishing, get it now because we don't know how long we're going to have it. I had to leave other places because the ice got too unsafe, so I had to find some other spots and just move around. Deke and dunk, as I say. Cover water. It's the name of the game this time of year, and you'll find some fish. But all right, guys, same time next week, I'm going fishing. Later.
And the only other thing I've heard about in Rhode Island is the headboats heading out offshore, doing some cod fishing. Now, what I've heard, it has not been good. The cod bite's been really slow. They're hitting the usual spots and not finding a lot of fish. They're finding tons of choggies, so they're putting together good catches of choggies, and you know, a lot of people like to eat those. I've heard they're very good. I've never tried one. So you can do that, but if you go out there expecting to do well on the codfish, odds are you're not going to do that great, and that's slightly concerning, considering we've been sort of on an upward trend over these past 5 or 6 years. So hard to say what's going on out there, but it's just been a little bit slower. And then on the salt ponds, we've got ice, but not safe ice, so no one's been doing any striped bass fishing, and that's what I have for you guys in Rhode Island this week. Moving over into Connecticut, we have some pretty diverse fisheries in Connecticut right now. The one that seems to be drawing the most interest is the sea forel and brown trout. Now, as we talked about last week, Connecticut stocked a whole bunch of ponds last week. I think it was 17 ponds. And a percentage of those, I think there were maybe 6 or 7 of the 17 that got the sea forel and brown trout. These ponds are seeing lots of pressure. Lots of guys out there trying to catch a sea forellin, and with good reason. I mean, they put some giants in. You may remember back in the early 2010s, Connecticut stocked the state record twice, and it was caught twice. So, they put some big fish in, and that's what's got these guys all fired up. Funny thing is, I've only heard of one actually being caught. So either the numbers were down or they're just a little cagier than the typical stocky trout. But lots of guys out there doing that, which is exciting to see. Also seeing a lot of people out there chasing pike. Now, the Connecticut River coves have not been great for pike this year. It seems like there's been dwindling returns or diminishing returns over these past few years on the Connecticut River. But places like Patchogue and Mansfield and Chatfield, and some of the other ponds that are stocked in Connecticut are putting out good numbers of fish, are putting out some nice size fish as well. So if you want to look for a big pike, I would head to the lakes instead of the river right now. However, the river itself has been exceptionally good for pan fishing. The funny thing is, it's either been really, really good or really, really slow. I don't know if it's a barometric pressure thing. I don't know if it's a tidal thing, but you know, on the right day, those coves are popping off right now. Weathersfield, Wrights, Hamburg, they've all been good. I'm sure Chapman Pond is putting out some numbers as well. While we're in the Connecticut River area, let's check in with our field correspondent, starting with Rowan Lytle.
Hey all, we're definitely looking at continued ice conditions in Connecticut. The Connecticut River's starting to clear out in some places, but it's still mostly iced over, as are the coves. Of course, we got some snow on top of the ice, and that does make things a little trickier, kind of turn some areas into slush, and can reduce the safety on the ice. Most of the small tributaries have cleared out, so the trout fishing may improve a little bit. They're still mostly fairly low and clear, though, and on any day where the temperature's above freezing, I'd anticipate snow melt getting into those creeks and slowing the bite down. So pick days that are maybe on the cooler side, otherwise anticipate snow melt cooling that'll slow the trout down. Now, the coves are a little bit of a wild card still. That snow, bit of a problem. Watch the edges carefully. Again, gonna sound like a broken record, but we keep getting this sort of flip-floppy weather into the above freezing zone, and then nights that are fairly cool. So some places are remaining safe, some places are not. So caution is your best friend, but there's still good ice fishing to be had. As long as you're safe and smart about it, you should have a good time.
Now we'll drop down and check in with Mike Roy from Reelcast Charters.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm down here in Panama at Toucan Lodge. And today we trolled for marlin, and we had a couple beautiful marlin jump, hit our lures, big fish, and unfortunately the hook didn't stick. So tomorrow we're going to be going for yellowfin tuna. That should be really good. The yellowfin tuna fishing down here is typically really good this time of year, so we're looking forward to that. Back at home, I am getting ready for the season. Going to be starting April 8th for spring schoolie stripers. Stay tuned.
Now we'll head over to Westbrook. We'll check in with Matt Stone from Black Hall Outfitters.
What's up, everyone? Matt here from Black Hall Outfitters in Westbrook with this week's fishing report. Very similar to last week's fishing report. As far as I know, there's still good ice all around. I'm seeing folks out on the hard water every morning on my way in and on my way back to the shop. So it definitely seems like that's still happening. Using your live stuff, using your your small little metals you can jig up and down, small little ice fishing jigs with soft plastics, all that kind of good stuff. I know the state's been doing some pretty good trout stocking recently, so if you're curious about that, take a little dig into that. There's probably some fun opportunities out there on hard water, and as we creep further into what's hopefully an early spring, in my mind at least, that open water. Other than that, you're still doing your same winter stuff, and I hope everyone's enjoying it. Take care.
And lastly, we'll head up to the Farmington River and check in with Derek Kirkpatrick from Connecticut Fish Guides.
Hi, Dave. Coming to you from my office today, and the good news is that the Farmington has broken off a bunch of the ice on the banks, and it's freed up quite a bit. So the river is more typical historically for regular winter fishing. So along with that breakup of ice, we had a storm roll through and some fresh powder, and that definitely does things to a trout stream. The fishing can be quite good after a storm once the wind kind of settles down. So we've got some Capnia stones that were hatching, and those were on the large size for those. They were 16. Those can get quite small, but usually like the 18s are the ones that 18, 16s are the ones I like to target. That's where I find the best fishing. So I'd expect to see that hatch all the way through March, along with your early stones and stuff like that. So stoneflies are definitely going to be a thing in the near future and a little bit of the extended future. The latter part of the days, you're going to have a little bit warmer temps. The sun's been beating on the water longer. Also, if you have cold overnight temps, obviously, you could have slush in the morning. So the mornings can be quite a bit of a toss-up. You want to pay attention to the overnight temperatures. If they're in the low teens, then an early start's probably not the way to go. So sleep in, do some other things, and try to hit those windows that are more productive. Large stoneflies are always a good bet this time of year, especially with any kind of increase of flow. So your 10s and 8s around that size. Junk flies will also produce closer to waning light, squirmies and stuff like that as we get into March. So things are improving. I expect them to improve as time goes on. Consistency is good, but we also need precipitation. The reservoir Colebrook is quite low for this time of year, and that's where we stack our thermocline. That gets us through the season. So hopefully we have more precipitation in the forecast. I'm kind of hoping it stays cold because trying to extend the ice fishing season. But yeah, anyone getting out, still be careful. Don't push it. If your feet start to get cold or you lose feeling, get out, walk around, and be careful of any ice coming down the river. That can be quite dangerous. So,
heading west from there, one of the most exciting fisheries that's going on in Connecticut right now is the smallmouth bass fishing on Candlewood Lake. Candlewood doesn't freeze over that often, but it's frozen over now. A lot of safe ice out there. And the guys that know the place well are using the jigging sticks to put some seriously nice smallmouth bass on the ice. So that's definitely something I would check out if you have a working knowledge of Candlewood, or if someone you know invites you to go. Don't pass up that opportunity, because from all the stories I've been hearing, it's about as good as it gets right now. Now we're going to drop down to Norwalk, and we're going to check in with Max Finch from Fisherman's World.
Hey everyone, Max here from Fisherman's World with another local fishing report. This past week we saw a lot of ice anglers hit the ice. We seen some bass, perch, crappie come through the ice. A lot of guys are fishing our local ponds, and then a lot of people are still traveling up to Bantam to get on the pike bite, and then other species are also in that lake. The Housatonic River for the striped bass fishery has slowed down a little this week with the cold and the snow. There's still ice coming down the river, making it a little challenging to fish, but guys are still hitting the Sullivan's Cove to get some stripers through the ice, and also other species. You have a shot at like pike and salmon that we've seen come through. Locally around in the salt, the herring fishing's a little slow. There are still whispers going around from Norwalk Marina, Cove Marina, getting some over there, and then Stanford. And we heard of some way down west towards City Island, but it hasn't been fantastic. Hopefully this picks up towards the end of the month. Thanks and good luck.
And one last thing I forgot to mention is that the walleye fishing in places like Squance Pond, Gardner Lake, and some of the other places where they stock walleye in Connecticut, still going strong, especially for the night guys. And you'd be surprised by the size of the fish that these guys catch. I mean, they're catching some fish, in the 6 to 7 pound range at times. It's a really interesting fishery. One of these days I'm going to find a way to invite myself out with somebody, because just an interesting fishery, and a fish that I don't get the opportunity to fish for. So definitely check that out if you got it in you to do some nighttime ice fishing. And that's what I have for you guys in Connecticut this week. If you're not a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine, I highly recommend you head over to our website. That's thefisherman.com. You'll get a full taste of what we offer. We cover all the fishing, whether it's ice fishing or offshore fishing. Whether we're surf fishing, we're on the boat, we're on the kayak, we cover it all. We do tackle making, we do rod making, we do everything. It's $31.95 for the year. You're going to get 12 editions sent to your house, paper magazines. And you're going to get 26 digital editions sent to your email from April to November. In addition to that, you get digital access to all the back issues, and you get digital access to our other editions. So if you sign up for the New England edition, which is the one that I run, you're also going to get digital access to the New York and Long Island edition and the New Jersey, Delaware edition. Hard not to call that the best $32 you can spend in fishing. But if you head over to the website and you're still not interested, which would be hard to believe, at the very least, give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube, and hit that little bell thing right there so you get a notification every time we post something new. I appreciate you guys for watching.